I can deal with hecklers. Anyway, he was born up in Brighton Square, which incidentally isn't a square, it's a triangle. And he didn't spend much time there because the father was always on the move. And so I put this little piece together to encapsulate what happened, because some years later they put a plaque up on the wall remembering where James Joyce was born. And when they tried to sell the house some years later, people would go to look at it, and when they looked out through the main window, there was a coachload of Japanese or Americans or some nationality, and they were trying to take photographs of this plaque so they wouldn't buy the house. And it was sold at a knockdown price to one of the members of Jackson Stops and McCabe. So I put this thing together about the plaque and about James Joyce when he looked back as to where he was born. He had only spent about 10 months in this house. Unaccustomed as I am to public spoofing, if you do not know me by my attire, you're better underproofing 30, I think, and to Brighton Square attire. There you will find a tablet. Oh, not the Catholic one, I bet. In Brighton Square, 41, I think, I was born. Oh, was I born? Much to my neighbour's scorn, and that wasn't fair that a genius of my calibre, 22, I think, should bring down the tone of said residence by the audacity of my daring to be actually born at all, which was, without precedence, lo, how the mighty fall. But all this is, by the way, just for the benefit of the tipsy scholar down to his bottom dollar. The father moved when I was 2, I think. He thought it was the best thing to do. You might call him the prime mover, and they couldn't sell the house. Anyway, he was always under proof 30, I think. They put a plaque on the house. They're now wondering in which public house Patrick O'Connor was born in Galway. Put a plaque on all their public houses. He who is a witness is a Guinness. Oh, there are some like that, Davy Byrne said. He's not too bad, Nosey Flynn said. He's been known to put his hand down to pelt the fella. Give the devil his due. Bloom has his good points, but there's one thing he'll never do. His hand scrawled a dry pen signature across the counter in front of his grog. Nothing in black and white. Oh, I know, Davy Byrne said. Paddy Leonard came in with bantam loins. Tom Rochford followed, a plaining hand on a claret waistcoat. They paused at the counter. Day, Mr. Byrne. Day, gentlemen. Well, who's standing, says Paddy Leonard. Well, I'm sitting anyhow, Nosey Flynn said from his nook. Well, what'll it be, Bantam? I think I'll have a spoon, Ginger. Yeah, what? How much? For the love of God. Here, Tom, what's yours? Could I trouble you, Mr. Byrne, for a glass of cold water? Lord love it, Duck. Will you look where I'm standing drinks to? Cold water and ginger pop for 2 fellas that had sucked whiskey off a sore leg. Say nothing, he's got something up his sleeve for the gold cup, a dead snip. Is it Thin Van Nosey Flynn inquired from his nook. Tom Rochford spilled powder from a crumpled piece of paper into the glass of water set before him. It's the cursed dyspepsia, Mr. Byrne. Bread soda's very good for that, says Mr. Byrne. Is it Thin Van Nosey Flynn inquired again from his nook. Tell us if you're worth your salt, says Paddy Leonard. Who gave you the tip? Mr. Bloom raised 2 fingers in greeting on his way out. There's the man now that gave it to him. Oh, for the love of God. Here, Mr. Byrne, will you give us 2 of your small Jamisons and a stone ginger, Mr. Byrne inquired civilly. Aye, says Paddy Leonard. A sucking bottle for the babby here. Mr. Bloom raised 2 fingers doubtfully to his lips. His eyes said, not here. Don't see them. Out. Hate dirty eaters. He backed towards the door. Gulp, glub, gulp, gobsnuff. I'll get a light snack in Davy Byrnes. I had a good breakfast. He re-entered Davy Byrnes. Moral pub, doesn't chat. Stands a drink now and then, but in leap year, once in 4. Oh, he cashed a cheque for me once. Let me see. I think I'll have a glass of burgundy and Sardines on the shelves, almost tasting by looking. Sandwich, ham and its descendants, mustard and bread there. What is home without Plumtree's potted meat? Incomplete. What a stupid ad. Aye, and under the obituary notices they put it. All up a Plumtree. Calls, mouldy tripes, all minced up. Puzzle, find the meat. Kosher, no meat and milk together. Yom Kippur, fast spring cleaning of inside. Christmas turkeys and geese. Slaughter of the innocents. Eat, drink and be merry. Heads bandaged, casualty wards full. I think I'll have a cheese sandwich, Mr. Byrne. I'd like a few olives with them if they had them. A little bit of crispy lettuce and a drop of pure olive oil. Ah, yes. God made the food, aye, and the devil the cooks. Thank you. Now, Jimmy Joyce, he finished his short stories, The Dubliners, and he wanted them published and printed in Dublin. So he sent a top copy over to a company called Mounsel's in Delire Street, and 3 months later hadn't heard a word. So he came over to Dublin to find out what happened, and he went into Mounsel's, and he was told that Mounsell was over with Roberts in North King Street. And when he got over there, he was told that the two of them had gone back to Delire Street. So he went into the office in Delire Street and wanted to know why the book had not been printed. So Mounsell produced one copy, and he said, "My friends don't like it. They think it's libelous, and I won't have anything to do with it." So Joyce was a bit disappointed about that, queried what was libelous, and finally they all ended up with solicitors. And they argued back and forth, and finally Mounsell picked up the copy he had printed and put it through a shredding machine. Joyce, in disgust, left. And on a train back to Salzburg, he took out the contract he had, and he wrote the following piece. And he offloaded everything in the form of barbs to what Tom Mounsell was saying in the piece. Ladies and gents, you are here assembled to hear how earth and heaven trembled because of the black and sinister arts of an Irish writer in foreign parts. He sent me a book 10 years ago. I read it 100 times or so, backwards and forwards, down and up through both ends of the telescope. I printed it all to the very last word, but by the mercy of the Lord, the darkness of my mind was rent, and I saw the writer's foul intent. But I have a duty to Ireland. I hold her honour in my hand, that lovely land that always sent for writers and artists to banishment. And in the spirit of Irish fun, they tried their own leaders 1v1. 'Twas Irish humour, wet and dry, flung quick climb into Parnell's eye. 'Twas Irish brains that saved from doom the leaky barge of the Bishop of Rome. For everyone knows the Pope can't belch without the consent of Billy Walsh. Oh, Ireland, my first and lonely love, where Christ and Caesar are hand in glove. Oh, lovely land where the shamrock grows, allow me ladies to blow me nose. But to show you for strictures I don't give a button, I think of the poems of Mountainy Mutton, and a play of his you've read it I'm sure, where they talk of bastard, bugger and whore, and a play on the word and holy Paul and some woman's legs that I can't recall, written by Moore, a genuine gent who lives on his properties 10%. I printed mystical books in dozens. I printed the table book of cousins, but begging your pardon has for verse to give you heartburn on your arse. I printed folklore from north and south by Gregory of the Golden Mouth. I printed poets sad, silly and solemn. I printed Patrick, what do you call him? I printed the great John Millicent saying he soars above on an angel's wing in a playboy ship that he thinks for swag from Mounsell's managers travelling back. But I draw the line with that bloody fellow, over here dressed in his Austrian yellow, spouting Italian by the hour to O'Leary Curtis and John Wise Power, and talking of Dublin, dirty and dear, in a manner no blackamoor printer could bear. Shite and onions, do you think I print? the name of the Wellington Monument, Sydney Parade and the Sydney Mount Tram, Downs' Cake Shop and Williams' Jam. I'm damned if I will. I'm damned to blazes. Talk about Irish names or places. It's a wonder to me, upon my soul, he forgot to mention Corley's Hole. No, ladies, my press shall have no share in so gross a libel on stepmother Erin. I pity the poor, that's why I took a red-headed Scotsman to keep my book. Poor sister Scotland, her doom is fell. She cannot find any more George to sell. My conscience is as fine as Chinese silk. My heart is as warm as buttermilk. Colin will tell you I made a rebate of £100 on the estimate I gave him for his Irish Review. I love my country by herrings I do. I wish you could see the tears I weep when I think of the emigrant training ship. That's why I publish far and wide my quite illegible railway guide. In the porch of my printing institute, the poor and deserving prostitute plays each night at catch can with her tight British artillery man. The foreigner learns the gift of the gab of the drunken, draggle-tailed Dublin cab. Who was it said, resist not evil? I'll burn that book, so help me devil, and I'll sing a song as I watch it burn, and the ashes I'll keep in a one-handled urn. This very next Lent I will unbear my penitent buttocks to the air, and kneeling beside my printing press, my awful sin I will confess. My Irish foreman from Bannockburn will dip his right hand in the urn and sign criss-cross with reverend thumb, memento homo, upon my bum. Thank you. Now, a lot of people wonder who or what was the central character in Ulysses, that's Leopold Bloom. And Leopold Bloom was a salesman. He went around looking for ads for the Freeman's Journal. Joyce Rose, he was mimicking a guy who stood in a bar in New York, and his name was Mr. Dooley. So he mimicked Mr. Dooley, and it goes like this. Who is the man when all the gallant nations run to war, goes home to have his dinner by the very first cable car, and as he eats his cantaloupe contorts himself in mirth as he reads the blatant bulletins of the rulers of the earth? It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the wisest man our country ever knew. There out the collar, the dime and the dollar, says Dooley, 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 Dooley. Who is the cheerful imbecile who lights his long chabouk on pages from the Pandect to Penal Code and Doomsday book, and wonders why bald justices are bound by law to wear a toga and a wig made from someone else's hair? It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the broadest brain our country ever knew. They took that toilet from Pontius Pilate, says Dooley, 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 Dooley. Who is the meek philosopher who doesn't give a damn about the yellow peril or the problems of Siam, and disbelieves that British tar is water from life's font, and will not gulp the gospel of the German on the mount? It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the wisest wit our country ever knew. Ah, the curse of Moses on both our houses, says Dooley, 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 Dooley. Who is the funny fellow who declines to go to church, since Pope and priest and pastor left the poor man in the lurch, and teaches that the only way to save all human souls is piercing human bodies through with dum-dum bullet holes? It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the broadest brain our country ever knew. Ah, who will release us from Jingo Jesus? Praise Dooley, 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 Dooley. Who is the man who says he'll go the whole and perfect hog before he pays income tax or his licence for the dog? And as he licks a postage stamp, regards with smiling scorn the face of king or emperor or the snout of unicorn? It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the wisest wit our country ever knew. Oh, his backside's gummy, says Dooley, 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 Dooley. Who is the tranquil gentleman who won't salute the state, nor serve the bucketons or no, not the proletariat? but thinks that every son of man has quite enough to do to paddle down the stream of life, his personal canoe. It's Mr. Dooley. Mr. Dooley, the wisest wit our country ever knew. Poor Europe ambles like sheep to shambles, roars Dooley, 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 Dooley. Thank you. You want more?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
In the name of Annam, this Carl on the cops, in pelted tongs, apart alone, who the Joe bigger be? For shaping his pigmaid's househead, shrunk his plod's foot, he had locked toes his short shins, and overload that's pectoral. His mamma muscles most serious. It is slaking munching out of some thing's brain pan. Me seemeth a dragon man. Lest we overstep his fur defences and these crawls of slick-sucked marrow bones. Excuse us, Charlie Guy. You tolerant dunce. You speak of the Anglesey? You talkative Scowegian? You Phonio Saxo. Let us swap hats and exchange a few strong verbs with each other. You piazzled abast the bloody creeks. Utah? You speak it Dutch? No. You follow all this. I'm a little bit confused myself. Is there any questions from the audience? Anybody have a question?
What do you do in the war, Mr. Joyce?
I think we've had enough of that.
Okay.
Finish up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people wonder about Mr. Bloom. Who is this Bloom whose salesman's mind wanders by jingo from Shakespeare to the flapdoodle of pub food? Who is this Bloom who fiddles with his hat, who fiddles with a potato, who fiddles with his pockets? Who is this Bloom? Irish, Hungarian, everyman, Jew, who Joko Serious says, every bullet has its billet, and love's best among the tunes. Who is this Bloom, whose old sweet song sings the sweets of sin, while his love's perfumed breasts, yes, nag and cuckold him? Who is this Bloom? Does he possess a pseudo-bloom or a non-day bloom? Who is he who speaks Joyce's? A modern-day Ulysses? And I'd like to say thank you very much for your attention.